Hello and welcome to our 7th tutorial. This one is going to be me teaching Enas the skills that were asked for by Mohammed Al-Chani from Ibn Tufayl University up in Tangier, Morocco, a PhD candidate who was hoping to come out here to USF to study with us. But we're doing this remotely, and we're also preparing for the class, the Democratizing QGIS and World Building class that starts this Thursday. So let's jump in and do some review, and then we'll show a new technique today, which is using the model designer. But what we're going to do first is just show if you had a blank screen as a review and see if this makes sense. We'll do this in a dialectic way where you're asking questions. The first thing we want to do if we came in here is to get a map on, right? Mm-hmm. So you go up to Web and go to Quick Map Services. And I always bring in the Google Hybrid Map first because it has all sorts of legends and stuff on it. And then I go in immediately and I add the Google satellite. And that appears underneath it, and that doesn't have any of that. It's just like has terrain. And it's very high resolution. You can zoom in quite high with Google, which is why I prefer it. You could put in Esri. It's no problem. You can come in Esri and take an Esri satellite map and put that in. But you can see that when we use the Esri, which looks a lot better when you're at certain resolutions, here's Google on top, here's Esri. The problem is when you zoom in too close, it says map data not yet available. So you only have a certain amount of zoom that you can do before that starts up. Down here at the scale, if I do 1 to 2,500, I don't have that data. 1 to 5,000, I do have data. When I come into 1,000 to 2,500, there's nothing. 1 to 1,000, nothing. 1 to 500, nothing. So that's not great. If I use Google Satellite, on the other hand, you can see that I can come all the way in to 1 in 500, and I still have information. Mm-hmm. So that's why Google Satellite is much better than Esri. And if you use Google Hybrid, of course, you're not going to see anything in the middle of the desert. But if we zoom out to Asongo, Tabango, then you can see that as we continue to zoom in, you continue to get this information for data layers, which comes in, which is not present in the Google Satellite. Okay? So that's why I put those in. If you do Esri Satellite, once again, nothing until you get up to 5,000 scale. And only then do you see it.
It's nice though.
Yeah, it's a nice picture. So you can always have them. I mean, nobody's stopping you from having them. That's the thing.
But you don't want to.
All right. So.
Where do you keep them?
I don't have to keep them. Yeah, keep that off. All right. So then the other thing that you do is if you want to get immediately wherever you happen to be, because we don't know where we are right now, let's go to a scale of 1 in 2,500 or somewhere in some desert somewhere. You go up to this plugin, geocoding, and you put in Marrakesh. If I spell it right, it's going to give me several Marrakesh options, and I will use Marrakesh, that. And bang, it actually took us right to Jebel Fana, which is cool. And you can see, because we're on the satellite, it shows Marrakesh. I mean, if I put in the Google Hybrid, and you'll see Jebel Fana, which is where the snake charmers were, the cobra people and the monkeys, and where we got sick drinking the fruit juices from these stalls here. Good memories. Okay, so that they consider the center of Marrakesh. Only I got sick.
Because you asked for milk.
Because I asked for milk and the avocados. Answer. Right from that little place right there. Don't go there.
Don't ask for a thing that needs to be
in the refrigerator. Right. All right. So that's what's cool about this. So now we're looking at there. Now let's supposing we wanted to actually identify the stall as a possible health hazard. You say, hey, you shouldn't drink there. That's what GIS is good for. Is we want to use it for personal experiences for improving health.
But we said be careful.
Yeah, be careful.
I had fruit.
You had fruit and it was wonderful.
Fine. I had fruit juice and it was fine.
Right. So what we do is we really want to have these data layers that we create for vector information. And what you tend to do is you go to create layer, new geopackage layer, and you come in and you say, well, I'm going to create a database. And I already have one of Calhane paths of interest, points of interest, but let's say Enas points of interest, because that'll be your map. All right, and we're saving it in a spreadsheet and attribute table area. So we have this geopackage.
Are we going to do
Yeah.
model?
Yes, we are. That's right. The geometry type here we're going to do is
We're
point.
not adding more points. We could just use on the points that you have.
Yes, but I want to show how you get the geopackage layer.
Did that.
Yeah, just one more review. Make sure that you put a name in first. Name is a text string. Make sure that you have. Make sure that you have latitude that is set to decimal double. And make sure you have longitude that is set to decimal double. And make sure that you have a WKT, or well-known text file, that is set to a text string. And then you want to have a geometry, which would be sure what it was called, but we'll call it geometry. You should have something like that set to a text string as well. Those are the 4 fields that you should have in your point of interest. When you look at your attribute table, you have those names there. Okay? And you want to do the same thing for polygons of interest, and you want to do the same thing for lines of interest. So you have 3 categories that you can draw on. All right? I'll just load the ones that I have already. So if I go to add, and you can't go from layer, add layer to do it, because it's already been created. So the ones I have, I go up here to the browser and I open up and I find my tables that I've created. And I have in here Culhane points of interest geopackage, and I can drag that on. I have, because you did Enas points of interest, I have Culhane polygons of interest that I drop on, and I have Culhane paths of interest that I drop on. Now my paths and polygons and node points are there, and when we open up my points of interest and look at the attribute table, you'll see that I have name, latitude, longitude, WKT, but I already have some information in there, like I have Gemel Fina. So if I go zoom to feature, then you can see it goes to Gemel Fina. Where is that point? Well, it's purple, so it's hard to see. So I like to come and put the effect drop shadow and put that in. So that's coming off of my points of interest. In yours, if you wanted to put one in, you'd click on your layer, you'd go to the pencil, you'd go to this dots here, and you'd say this stall, if you were, and you'd say fruit stall in Gemma El Fna, and say okay, and then you'd have a dot there, and then you could decide what symbology you want to use. We'll just use this for now. So that's in your layer, not mine. Okay, and then you would save it. But we're going to work with mine, with that one there. Maybe I should actually move my point of interest. If I go into edit. Oh. You have to double click on it.
These are the only options.
Mm-hmm. You can customize, but I have not customized right
now. Where?
There's all symbols, and then there's ways to advance to add symbols. We don't want to do that right now. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it now. It's not part of this. There's no reason to do that right now. There's nothing to do there.
Okay, there's nothing.
Okay.
I thought they have more options.
There are more options, but
I don't want to. Not maybe that.
There's topography.
That's the whole thing. You had all and you saw all of them.
Yeah, but there's ways to add more. I've done it before, but I don't want to try to get into that right now. There are
Really?
ways.
Can we add more?
I don't. You have to get it from somewhere. Like you can put in a heart, for
No.
example.
No.
I don't want to try it right now.
Do you get it from the web?
Yeah, you get stuff from the web and you add symbols. You
I
make your
would
own
like
symbols.
that.
Okay, not right now. All right, so I was just going to say that you can come in and you can edit this point. I think it's not letting me get at it. Vertex tool, add point feature.
Let's do the model.
Oh, right click on the feature. And it's not, there it is, I moved it. All right, so you right click on it until it turns into a something or other, and then you place it, but it's never at all obvious. It's like you right click on it and then you move it. You've got to click.
What are we doing
you have
now?
to click on it. You have to right click.
Why do you need to move it?
I wanted to move it to the stall.
Why?
It's like there. It's on the stall.
Why?
Because that's where I want to be able to talk about stuff. All right. So I've got that one now in my points of interest.
Then that's not Jammer for that anymore.
It is. This is still Jammer for now. The whole thing is Jammer for now. All right. So I've got that, and then I hit save, and now that changes the latitude and longitude, obviously, of the point, which has to be reflected in the spreadsheet. Yeah, the JAMA itself is down here, but the whole area is called Jamofina. Yeah. Okay. You're funny. All right, so polygons of interest. I do have polygons already in my attribute table from before. I've got the Place de la Jeunesse, and if I go there and I go zoom to feature, there's the Place de la Jeunesse right there. Okay, that's that one. That's the only one I have in there. I can easily make another one. I can come in here and find the High Atlas Foundation office, which will show up under on our map. But if I want to, the High Atlas Foundation is right here, and I would go draw in polygons of interest, draw a polygon, tell it HAS office polygon, and say OK. And then that one appears. All right, and then save it. And Culhane paths of interest. Let's see what I have in there. I have the path from Inara Mall to that office. And if we go and zoom to that feature, then you see the path. It's just got a symbol you can hardly see. So we would want to go and find a different, maybe a pointing arrow. Let's see if that looks any good. Yeah, got a pointing arrow.
It's not bad.
No, that's not too bad. So those are the paths there, and then you can say, great, okay, that is safe. That's all I have in there. If you wanted to draw another path, like the path that I walked from the hotel down, then you would have to find the hotel. And the way that we did that before, because I don't think that geocoding has Hotel Semiramis, we can check geocoding and go Hotel Semiramis Marrakesh. It may not. Oh, and then again it might, and it does. Oh, yeah. So the geocoding did have it. So that is where you might go and say, great, I want to do a path from here. Go here, and it need to be in paths. Go here and go here, and then start drawing how we came out the door. Where was it? Here we came out the door. And then we would go down to the street there, and then walk all the way down to here, and all the way down to here, and that is then walking down to the Menara Mall, and then you have the Menara Mall on. So if we take that and we say, great, that's what I want this to be, and you right click, you then say path from Semiramis to Menara Mall, Marrakesh, and then we have the entire thing. Okay, and obviously that was the wrong symbol to use because of what it does at a big thing. But if we take the cat trail, for example, and apply it, boom, we get those great little cat feet going down there, leading all the way down. All right. So you put in points, you put in polygons. Yeah. No, we'll leave it purple for right now.
Not green.
Oh,
It's better with the color.
The color. Okay, put in green. That's green.
It would show better.
It will show that. All right, so you have green. Anyway, the point is that we have now in these attribute tables, after you save them, you've always got to go back and save. We have now, if we look in an attribute table that has the path from Menara Mall to the HF office and the path from the Semiramis to the mall, and it has a field for latitude, longitude, and well-known text, which is good for polygons and lines. And we have one here, an attribute table for polygons, and it has a Place de la Jeunesse and the HAF office as polygons. And then we have points of interest, and this one has Menara Mall, Jebel Fana, a wildflower area, which is, you can see if I click here, oops, I need to click here actually, and now go to zoom to feature, you see there's a wildlife, and then there's solar panels that were near the gardens. So if I look at that, you can see that dot there is where the wildflowers
was it the
were.
Garden? What was that?
No, not the secret garden. This is just the big public garden as you go to the HF office. And then, right, the park. And then down here on the corner, and I'd have to move this so you could see it, I put a star right on these great solar panels because as I was walking down the road here, I turned to the left and I was waiting to cross the street, and there was this little field of solar panels. So part of our job as climate mitigation adaptation specialists is to use mapping to identify where renewable energy and drawdown technologies are being utilized, and then make suggestions for where they could be placed based on analysis of where the shadows are and how much insolation it gets, where the wind patterns are. I mean, this is the whole purpose of doing mapping. So I've put wildflowers and I've put solar panels in, and I need to get them into my major map because this is all we have so far. And yet we've done a lot of work in our spreadsheet. If you look at our, let's go to spreadsheets now to add and attribute tables. This spreadsheet here is our major spreadsheet that we're using to put all the data and share it with everybody. And this combines all the stuff we got from the High Atlas Foundation with their activities, where they have solar panels and where they have portable water, where they're doing irrigation, where they have water tanks. We have all this information in here, and then we can also put in our own information, like this is the path Enas and I took the last night in Morocco, or this is where we ate camel meat, which could take some pressure off of inappropriate animals like cattle, because camels are adapted to that area. And this is a restaurant where they have it, or this is where we got argan oil, which is a great agroforestry crop and can replace annual agriculture if it can be made robust to climate change. This is where we ate at the organic Marmara fruits and how we walked to the train station so you don't have to take a taxi and use fossil fuels. So we have a path, a shortcut path there. So all that information is in there, and it has in it websites, number of people, number of households. It's a database, and it has latitude and longitude, and it has polygon well-known text, and it's got line well-known text. So when we have a database like this, we know that we can take any map and we can, oops, let me get out of that. We can go to layer, add delimited text layer, find that database, and bring in the point coordinates as longitude and latitude and add it. And then it's supposed to show up. And the reason it doesn't is because it has been, oh yeah, it did. It's completely showed up. You just can't see it because, again, of the style. So let's apply this style, which is easy to see. And now you see all the points that we have in that database. And you can go up and look at them and see, for example, here is a water tank for potable food in the Al Haus province in City Fadma. And you can see where a project has been done down here, which has water tanks in Widarane village. And you can see over here, we have solar panels, 26 solar panels in the Iflit village. And we have things like up here, we have the Mohammed VI experimental farm. And down here, we have the Agadir women's cooperative, and a link to it that you can get to and see the amlu and the argan and the honey and the beauty products and stuff. So the map is very useful because you can put all this stuff on here, up to and including Ibn Tufayl University up here, and you can learn more about them. So there's a lot of great capabilities that we can bring into the map. And as I mentioned in the last tutorial, you have to bring in points, lines, and polygons all separately. So if you want to go off that and add another layer, delimited text, and bring in the same master database, but this time go to well-known text and pick the polygons and add them. Right? So there's polygons. This is the whole study area. Once again, we saw in the last one, you do get problems with that if you're using single symbol. You go to rule-based and you tell it that you want the filter to be at ID equals 25.
Say I. Yeah.
And I'll explain why, and then you bring it down, the opacity down for that, and then say OK. And it makes it transparent. Why ID 25? Well, you can see if we open up the attribute table that when we get down to H24, which is actually ID 25 because it starts at 0. So 24 is ID 25. It says feature ID 25 right there. Right? That's the HAF polygon study area. That is what we wanted to make transparent. It's now showing up big yellow because we selected it in the table. So I have to unselect it, pick something else, for example. Oops, I need to pick something else.
It's not enough to just say clear selection.
No. Well, maybe. Maybe it is. But
where is it?
There. So that's my major polygon. You can see that here I have other polygons in that table. For example, I have Mohammed VI Polytechnic, and I have in there the, let me see what I have. I have the train station in Ben Gurir. I zoom there. And sometimes, okay, so sometimes what happens is the polygons do get messed up because I didn't set the entire map when I started making these features. I didn't set it to the right CRS, and so we do get some problems with this, and we'll just have to go back and fix that later because that is a problem. But let's not worry too much about that. It is going to work. The paths I have to bring in now because I brought in polygons, and we will go again to layer, add layer, text delimited layer, go to the same spreadsheet, well-known text. This time use the line WKT and hope that the CRSs match up. As I said, there's always a problem with that. And now you can see the path came in to the train station. So if I go and make it, maybe I'll do this pattern of circles and give you green circles because you like green so much. Say OK. So now there's a path that leads from the train station to the Marmara Cafe, which is in there. So this is all information that has come in. You can see other paths that we have here, like this database also had this path that goes from the spice shop to the Zaytun Cafe right there. So this is like the master spreadsheet that we have. And then what we want to do is get the stuff that we've just been adding. So I'll turn off the HAF project sites. The new stuff that we've added, we need to get into the master spreadsheet. So we have it coming back in when we reload it. We have all the new information we've been working on. So how do we do that? Well, one way you do it is if it is a path or if it is a polygon like that, what you would do, let's start with a polygon, is you would right click on it and go export, save features as, it's comma separated value. We need to give a place for it. And I will use Culhane paths export, not paths, polygons exported. I have a name for the holder, the placeholder or spreadsheet. And I'm going to go here and say that I want it to have a geometry that is WKT, well-known text. And when I hit OK, since I already have the file, it'll overwrite it. It's going to show up as Culhane polygons exported. And you can see when I open it up, it has the information. Place de la Jeunesse has these coordinates for drawing the polygon. It says polygon over there. The HAS office has a polygon that's there. And that then can be added to our spreadsheet. So I can go in like this, copy it, go into our major spreadsheet, come in here anywhere for the time being and paste it in. Take my two polygons here and here, cut them, and go over to the polygon field. That's spam. Go to the polygon field, which is here, polygon WKT, and paste them in here. So now they're in that major thing, and then bring the Place de la Jeunesse is here. The only thing I need to change in here is that this is in Marrakesh Safi. If I want that information in the table, fill the rest of that in. It's the name of the region, because I have a field for province and then municipality. And then there's the HAF. And then I hit save.
Why did you move them?
I wanted them in the right columns.
What is the right column? There were descriptions?
They were polygons. So they're over here under polygon. See?
What is that?
It says polygon bracket, and then it gives latitude, longitude for one point, latitude, longitude for the next point, latitude, longitude. It describes the polygon, like what the points are.
Where's the lines?
The lines we haven't brought in yet.
What is the points?
Not brought in yet. So then you got to go back to your map and say, okay, well, that was great. That was the polygons, those things there. What about this path that we drew, the two paths, right? We need to get them into the master database.
Are you focusing only on these little ones?
Yeah, just the ones that we brought in. That's all we did. This is what we added to the map this morning.
Okay.
We want to get them into the major database.
And then you're going to use everything.
Yeah, then you bring it all back in. So you can keep working on your map, saving it as a major database, and then bring it back in. Otherwise, you're like, where did I store that information? Where did I store that information? Every time you go to work on your map, you're like, what did I?
Can't you add this?
I just did.
No, I know.
You mean, can you go into the map and add it and then save it back? Unfortunately, no.
What?
Here's the thing. You could make a GIS map that has all your points, your polygons, and your lines, and keep adding to it and keep adding to it and keep adding to it. But you'd never be able to share it with anybody. It'd be yours, and you'd keep opening it and you keep adding paths. And the polygons layer, you'd have your polygons, and you keep adding new polygons, and you go in and edit the lines layer.
Do you need the model builder to share?
No.
You can also
you need to have a spreadsheet to share.
Yeah, that's in the spreadsheet.
Right. But to get it to the spreadsheet is what we're going to use the model builder for. We want to make a spreadsheet. that has this information.
Just the model builder, that's one thing it gives us.
The model builder can do whatever models you make. The model builder is infinite.
Yeah. But it does. You can also use it in a different project.
You can use the model. Yeah.
Convert it.
Yeah. We're going to get to that. We're almost there.
But
Okay. So we want to get these paths out. So we go to paths of interest. Yeah.
When we put them in the table, and if we make any mistake, as you're just doing that, because it's just too many like numbers and lines and columns. When we make any mistake, would that reflect here? Like, how would you make sure that's
It would come in wrong.
What we have.
You have to ground truth it. It could come in wrong.
You take it. How do we verify that
you look at
the sheet that we're making manually is correct?
You look at your map and you see if it works.
But we are creating it first in the map, and then we move it
to the spreadsheet, and then we move it back in.
So we delete it from the map to move it back in to put it again in the map. That's what you did last time.
Right. Yeah.
We always do move it.
So once again, I'm going to click on the lines, paths of interest. I'm going to export it, save feature as. I'm going to choose the file name now that I've created for Culhane Paths Exported. That's what I'm using as a spreadsheet to carry it. And then I'm going to use geometry as WKT, or well-known text. And then I'm going to say OK. I'm going to overwrite the old one because I'm just using it as a carrier. I open it and look at it. And you see here, there's that information. WKT is line string. And it says for paths to menorah. I will copy that and close this. I don't have to save it. I'll go back to my major thing. And I will come here and I will paste just somewhere in an open field. I'll use 46 and 47 for this. I'm going to go in here and paste it. Now I'm going to take the names, which are here, cut them and put them where the name fields belong. Oops, did I cover over something? Yes, I did. All right, so let's not do that yet. Let me copy up. Let me go back in and paste. No, I messed that up. All right, so it looks like if I go back to redo and redo and redo and redo, there we go. Now, for some reason, the path is not showing up. So I guess I need to open up that spreadsheet again. I just made a little error. Recent documents is Culhane Paths. There it is. So the line string is here. Go back to my spreadsheet here. Put them in the line string area for number 46. Somewhere is lines. Polygon is there. Line is there. There we go. It's just sometimes this thing gets a little bit dodgy to put that in. Put this line string in here. There they are. Now go back and put these names in the right place. These we don't need anymore. These names need to go to here. All right, and then they're both in Marrakesh, so we can actually drag both of these down. All right, and then save. So now our line.
It didn't save.
It didn't, just did.
Did?
Yeah, it saved. So now we've got the paths in right there. There's the polygon for the polygon, and here is the line string for those records down here and here. Okay, line string, and that's the same thing. A line of this coordinate.
Why do you have the gaps between the lines? And that's because there's polygons on the other side.
In these,
Yeah.
I didn't make lines for every data record. Not everything has polygons, not everything has lines, not everything has latitude and longitude. Like you wouldn't give a latitude and longitude for a line.
What is the data then?
Polygon.
No.
Here?
The first one. Here. What is all of this?
Each of these is a record of a place. So there's Anfleet, Tamichi, Anmir.
Don't say it. Just say what it is.
These are all villages.
And the ones before it?
Municipality, province.
Okay, and after that?
Estimate website, address, number of people, number of households, activities. After that comes coordinates. After that comes polygons. After that comes lines, and then comes pictures and documents.
Coordinates for the points, right?
Points. Points have coordinates. Lines have no well-known text, which are also coordinates, but they're in a text string. Polygons have well-known coordinates.
And then after that?
After that, I have pictures, websites, photographs, all sorts of stuff in there. Because it's a master database. Right? So once you get that in, the last thing that you go through the pain of exporting is points. But points are not as easy to do. And this is why we're going to turn to the model builder. Because to get our points of interest out, this one here, it needs to get the latitude and longitude calculated.
How?
For every new point that we make.
How do you calculate that?
There is a calculator that does that.
You mean field calculator?
Yes, a field calculator. So for example, and I haven't added a new point here. So what I need to do is I need to add a new point to points of interest. And I need to say, well, let me put a point in here for the dinosaur sculptures that are up in here. There's a playground that kids play at that has dinosaur sculptures. And if we had wanted to take the kids there, then we didn't go there, but it's up in here. It's a sort of, there's a playground. There's the dinosaur sculptures there. So I would place a thing and I'd say dinosaur sculpture playground, and I want to get that coordinate in there, and that's not so simple unless you use a formula. So if I go into the attribute table and I want to get that, see there's no latitude or longitude for that. How do I do that? You have to go to this little abacus up here, which is the field calculator. And you need to say that you're going to update that field, which is latitude, for example. But before you do it, and this is critical, you've got to go and change the field to decimal number, because unlike well-known text or for polygons or lines, this is not a string. There's no word polygon or word line. It's just coordinates. So it has to be turned. It can't be an integer, or there won't be enough decimal places to get the accurate position on the map, and it'll end up way the heck out of the map. So it's got to be decimal number. Then you can go to update existing field, pick latitude as your field, and then you need a formula that will calculate that. What a pain. I've kept my formula here, and the formula for the latitude, as you can see in the tutorial that I've created, in order to create a latitude field, you need this formula here, which I'll copy in, and whoever remembers how to do that. I mean, some people do. And it's on the Y, transform the geometry layer property. It gives the CRS to be the right CRS, and it puts in latitude. And it's for the feature playground. And you say, okay. And bang, it gives you now 31.615. You've got to now do the same thing for the longitude. Once again, you got to go over here first, change it to decimal number, then go up to update existing field, then go to longitude. Then you need the same formula, but instead of Y, it needs to be X. export the longitude. And then it shows you the preview, which looks good, -8, that's in Morocco as a longitude. Now you have this, you have to save it, stop editing it, and only now that you, oops, we didn't get it calculated. Something went wrong. Hold on. Go to edit, go to the abacus, tell it that we want decimal number.
Did you choose it first? Did you choose the one? Did you select it? Did you select
It should do all of them. It shouldn't matter. So longitude is got to be, yeah, longitude is X. It shows preview. It should go in. It didn't go in.
Which one you trying to do?
I'm trying to do
Which one?
This point here.
Which one of the table?
Dinosaur.
Then you keep. Did you select it first?
I don't think so.
It is.
It should update all of them.
Gaga. Select it. Go update. No, you put it. No.
It's got to be an X.
Yeah.
And you see it there, and the feature is playground, dinosaur playground. It gives it there. And it should just, yeah, now it updates. Okay. So then you save it and stop editing. And now we got to get this stuff out. So now that it's in the table, we can right click, go to export, save features as. This time go to a Culhane points exported as a placeholder. And this time you have to say, you don't say anything. You just let it go out. Overwrite that old file. And then when we open it, you can see now that these are there. So we take Menara Mall, Jamel Snack, blah, 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 copy these, go to our master, and now place these here. Take the latitude and longitude from here, cut them from there, move over to the latitude, longitude here, and paste them in. And then, of course, if you want to make sure that everything is set, you just drag down province in case you're looking from that. Now you save it. Now what happens? What happens is, we don't need this anymore, that was just a placeholder.
Now we're done.
Well,
with the manual one.
Right, with the manual one.
Go ahead.
So we can get rid of
the ones on the map that you created on the map.
Well, we can just turn them off. We want to keep them for the procedure. But now everything is turned off, and we're going to bring in the project sites. But remember, we already did. So I can click on this, but I can update it. I don't need to bring it in. I can just go change data source and go back to the spreadsheet, and it updates automatically. So now when you zoom in, and you will see it when we zoom in here, you see how there's the playground. Okay. And when I click on it, it says playground.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead to the model design.
Right. I just want to make sure you see that I have to do that then for every one of these. I have to go to the polygon. I have to right click and I have to say change data source and then re-import that. The same thing with the HAF project sites lines. I need to, because this doesn't have everything in it, I need to right click, go to change data source, and re-import it. And now we have everything that's in the master table with everything we added. All right, so let's now try it another way. We can get rid of the HAF project sites polygon. We can get rid of the HAF project sites path and points. We can simply remove those from the map. All right. And all this information that we've now done with the Culhane polygons of interest, with the Culhane paths of interest and the points of interest, these new paths, we should be able to get them out without going through that whole procedure and having to memorize anything. That's why we use the automation of the model builder. So to get to the model builder, you go to processing, you go to model designer. I'm going to open up the one I created, and then I'll show you how to create it. I've created one called Export Points, Lines, and Polygons to CSVs. And you can see that this model has an input that will take points, an input that will take lines, and an input that will take polygons. They're yellow, meaning when you run the model, it's going to ask you for information. Input lines, you have to tell it where is paths of interest. Input points, input polygons. It's going to wait for you to make that decision before it runs the model, and then it's going to put it out to these things, y out to these coordinate points, because down here at the bottom, I have outputs. These are inputs in yellow, and these are outputs in green. I have an output for coordinate polygons, where I've told it to go to my folder and export coordinates underscore polygons exported. So I have that. I have a coordinate lines where I've told it to go to a file called coordinate underscore lines exported CSV. And I have one for points. In between the inputs and the outputs,
how did you make this?
I brought in, there's inputs here, and I went into inputs and I said input vector layer. I just dragged it on. But I had to give it a description, so it could be input Enas layer, for example, if I wanted.
No.
I'm not going to do that, but I could say point.
You can bring them all together, right? Or just point, yeah. It's separate. The points and then the polygons
right.
Separate. But then you bring them from the whole spreadsheet.
Right.
All of the points.
Right. And notice that when I run this now, it's asking for, it doesn't have a point. It has an input Enas layer right there now.
Right.
Okay.
But you're going to bring them from all of them, right?
Yeah.
How
I can get rid of that. I'll show you. The other thing you need to have as an input is a geometry type that is set to allow multiple selection with points, lines, and polygons. Or at least that's what ChatGPT told me. It may work without it, but that's what I have in there. So these are my inputs and these are my outputs.
Why do you have a duplicate then?
Where?
If you have a geometry type, then you don't need to bring them separate.
That's just what it told me to do. We'll try to figure that out when we get more sophisticated with this. That's all I know. Because I think if I take it out, it's going to cause a problem.
Okay,
all right.
And then?
So then I connect input points to a field calculator. And I cannot do what you do in ARC. I can't grab this and stretch it. There's no way to, it drives you nuts. You can't do that. And they do that to protect you from making mistakes. You have to click on the actual field calculator and tell it that the input layer is going to be input points. Yeah. All right. It shows the ones that we have, the choices that we have. Then you're going to say the field name that you want it to spit out in the spreadsheet. So I put latitude, decimal degrees. And then you say decimal double. Remember we had to pick that? Well, here you select it in the beginning, so you don't have to touch that ever again. And there's that formula, Y transform, that we used for getting the latitude. There it is right there. It's in there. I pasted it in there.
It was made already.
Yeah, so I don't have to, I had to paste it in.
You already did it.
But I did it. I pasted it in. When I have that, then that output has to then go into the field calculator for longitude, where it says, well, now take what we calculated from the latitude and now add the longitude, also decimal, and use that formula, which has an X rather than a Y. So it goes, do the latitude first, then do the longitude, then save vector features to file points. So it says calculated from, and you can go and click on here. You can either do value, you can do pre-calculated value, you can do model input. We're coming from the algorithm output, and we want it to take what came from the last procedure, and we want to save it as coordinate points into that particular model output. And we have that, and we say, okay, we have a flow. It's going to calculate the lat and lon, and it's going to create a spreadsheet right there. Same thing for lines. It's the lines going into a field calculator for the well-known text. You're going to use the input lines. This time we're going to do a field name WKT, and it's going to create it in text string. And it needs a formula, and the formula is, oops, There it is. Geometry to well-known text at geometry.
Right.
So it does that. And then it saves the vector to the file, and it calculates it from the field collector and puts it into coordinate lines. That's all that does.
Right.
It's a save function. And the same thing for polygons. Field calculator, it's the same text string, well-known text. It just uses, and it uses the same formula. It's just going to take the polygons and do it for the polygons. All right. So we got that, and then that saves out to coordinates polygons.
Right.
So what happens now when you run this is you say it's got some messed up stuff because from running yesterday. I go back to it and I say I need Culhane paths of interest for that lines. I need Culhane points of interest because it's showing you all the layers that are available here on the map. Right? I need
several on all the inputs you want.
Yeah.
It gives you more than one.
It gives you whatever's on the map.
Whatever inputs you want to add.
Yeah. I mean, I can show you again if I go here.
No. I see it.
Here's all the possibilities.
I see all of them. I see them. I know.
Okay.
I'm not a beginner to GIS.
But some people are who might be watching this. All right.
Yes.
So now we go and we run it. Oh,
I
need to select it again. Paths of interest.
I know what you mean by inputs. We've seen them. That's input.
So polygons of interest. And it's going to send it out to these particular spreadsheets. So you hit run. And then you got 3 different spreadsheets. You got coordinates polygon exported, points exported, and lines. And if you click on points and you open it, there's the same information that we got when we did it manually. But now we'd have to copy and paste these in to the major spreadsheet. But we've already done that. So we
You
don't
already have this here. That's
Yeah.
the manual. You're not going to duplicate.
No, not going to duplicate it. But we wouldn't have had to have gone through that.
Yes, which is easier, faster.
Yeah. So there's coordinate polygons exported. And there they are.
Why did you have to do the manual? Just a challenge?
Well, because until you know what you're doing, you can't build a model for it.
Understand what is the table.
Yeah. So I had to learn how to do that.
Right.
And then I'd
You
say,
have them all now.
right, and then I'd say I'd be frustrated to have to do this.
Have polygons, polylines, and points.
Right.
All of these forms from all of these inputs
Mm-hmm.
together.
Right.
And they gave you spreadsheets based on the inputs you added.
Yes.
The files you have.
Yes.
And then you can combine them all in one spreadsheet and use that again as an input. You can remove all the old inputs, video inputs, and use that one spreadsheet as one input to combine them all together.
Right. Now, this is one way of doing it. I've tried many more, and I spent all day yesterday and the day before working with ChatGPT to try to figure this out. You can see.
Seems like, yeah.
You can see when I do.
Good job figuring that.
Oh, it was really hard. I mean, we spent hours and hours. You can see up here how much. And it finally said to me, your best thing to do is to actually create a script and use the scripting function and save out that script. But this one here, unified geometry model. But that's beyond my capabilities today, using the script function. Yeah, that's the programming.
You don't have to.
Well, you're going to learn that as well. You're going to learn Python programming for GIS.
You don't have, that was one multiple choice question in my final GIS. Do you have to know to have the programming skills to do GIS? The answer is no.
Yeah. And I got so many errors when I was running the model, because if you look at my original model that I created, I did 3 different models. You can see in here, I did, the final one that we used is export points, lines, and polygons. But my first one was export points of interest. And it was a very simple model that used one input. And then I was trying to extract by expression to get the polygons out, and extract by expression to get the lines, extract by expression, and it would never work. I would go to run the model, and I'd pick the points first, and I'd pick the geometry, and it was just messed up. So I was back to ChatGPT, why isn't this model working? It certainly works down one path or the other. And what I was doing that always worked is I was saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to run just the points. Like I would go, this is... for running the points, I would say take the points of interest, and then I put it in a spreadsheet called Damn It, because it was causing me so much trouble. but you'd run it, and here's damn it.
It's a good name.
And it would run, but it wouldn't produce any data. You're like, well, damn it, why isn't that working? And then darn it, right? But then I would come in here and I would say, all right, I'm going to pull this. It's because it's all connected. So I'd say I don't want to connect it. I don't want to use these merges. So I would say to it, you know what? I just want to use not the merged, but calculated from longitude. Now it's just going that way with no merge, right? And then when you run it, it would work. You'd say, blah, 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 blah. You run, and then you open it, and you'd say, hey, looky there it is. There's all my information, right? So it works. And then you'd say, okay, now I need to go back, and if I want to do the polygons, I come in here, and I choose calculated from extract by expression polygons. So I'm going, oh, not there, field calculator is what I need to do. So do it from calculated from field calculator for polygons. You do that, and then you'd run it, and then you'd say, all right, use polygons of interest. You'd run the model, and then you click on it, and you go, okay, what does damn it look like now? Oh, it has plastidage Enas, and polygons are in there. Great. Now let's go back and let's move the save vector to field calculator from lines. Let that path go down. And then I'd say, okay, now pick my lines, the paths of interest, and then run it. And then you can see that it's got all that information. But that was another pain in the butt. I mean, why should I have to keep going into the model and changing the save vector fields? Somehow the merge vectors never worked. And you can see I went into ChatGPT.
That gets slow to you. You're doing an introduction.
Yeah, we talked.
You're not going to have to spin.
Yeah, but I had to figure out what makes it simple. So it's much simpler now, don't you think, to have a single model? Because look at the other. Sure, it is. Look at the other model that I did.
What are you going to do with this? That's the more important question. What are you going to do with this information that you've made, collected?
Well, I figured out the right model to use. I mean, I tried another one called Daisy Chain that we in chat talked about, where you do field calculator for latitude and longitude.
Everybody will go and when we chat and say something, it's not going to be, but you figure the word. Now, the question to teach, because you're the instructor, what are you going to do with this information to end our session for today? To start thinking about what's next after you made it. What's the next step? Is that it?
Yeah, it's learning how to make this model.
What are you going to do with this?
Well, any time that we go onto our map and we add features, we're going to export them to the spreadsheet.
I know, but you're going to plan something? You're going to do something with this, or that's it?
No, we're done. All I was going to do is show you that if you had a blank screen, if you started with a new model, I just wanted to show how this works. And here's how it works. When you start a new model, you go to inputs first. You'll have inputs and you'll have algorithms. Okay? You start with inputs and you go to layer, vector layer, because we're working with vectors. Right. There's a lot of different models you can build, as you said. And I add a vector layer and I tell it like this would be points of interest. And you select geometry type point. This is not like your ARC model builder where you can just drag stuff on. You set up inputs here.
This is way more primitive.
They say it's safer. Here you go, points or lines of interest or polygons of interest.
More difficult.
Seems so, but it actually makes more sense. All right, so we're doing polygons of interest. Now we have that one.
You can.
And then you go to, you can copy it and paste it, of course, yes. And then redo it and say lines of interest. This is what I'm recommending everybody do. And go line.
No, click, no, it's click both. Which is cool. So you can put both. You can put them all.
I tried, but that's what those other two models tried to do and it failed. And I spent all day trying to figure out the logic. So this is what works. Now, if you then run it, it says it doesn't have anything. You can't run it in this state. So you need to add something to it, and usually that is an output. and the output is a final thing that you can't access yet. So
Maybe because the cells in the Excel sheet, so
they're different data
empty.
types.
Yes, but they're
different,
empty.
and they're different data
Like
types.
there's no at least a value.
Oh, there's
no
values.
No, like
But let me show.
for the cells in the Excel sheet about polygons, in the place for the cells for points next to it, there's no value. It's zero, so it can't read it. Maybe
It needs a calculator. Yeah, you need a field calculator.
So you have to put the value 0.
Right. So for the we don't put anything yet. You have to get to your algorithms. You leave your inputs and you go to your algorithms and you say field calculator under vector table. And then it says, well, what am I going to use? So if I use lines of interest, because that's the one I'm highlighting, then I need a field name that I'm going to create. And the field name is going to be WKT, well-known text. Or you can say lines, well-known text. I mean, whatever you want to say, but I just say WKT. Right? And then you need to tell it the type. And the type is going to be text string for that. And then you need that formula. Right?
Yeah.
And the formula was geometry from KT. Is it that one there? It's not that one there. So here's where I need to look at my formulas, and I have it as where do I have it? So I have in the tutorial for polygons or lines, this is the expression. So come in here and put that expression in. If this is polygons, and say OK for lines. Now, here's our new model. This is our old model. This is our new model. All right, so there's field calculator, and you bring that in. Now we can copy that field calculator and paste it and connect it now to polygons of interest, because it uses the same expression, but put it to polygons of interest and say OK. And then we can copy it and paste it here for points of interest, but it's when you change it to points of interest, your field name has to be latitude, and that can't be a text string, that has to be decimal double. And then it needs a formula for that, and that formula, if you will recall, if you go back to the tutorial, the formula is here for latitude, and then come back in here and put in that expression there for the latitude. And then you should really name things, because if you don't name them, you can say like field calculator for latitude, you're not going to know what you were calculating. And then you copy that and paste it again, but in here you want to change the expression to x. And you've got the decimal already, but this is doing longitude, and the name is field calculator for longitude. Say OK, and you've got to daisy chain these together, and that means that you're using polygon, that you're using not an input layer but an algorithm output, and you calculate it from field calculator from latitude, and that makes that daisy chain. Then daisy chain is just to link things together. It's just called daisy chain.
Do that for the other one?
No, you don't do that for the other one. This is polygons, this is lines.
Right, why do you do that only for points?
Because this has two different fields it's creating. It's creating a latitude field that's a decimal using this formula, and then it's calculating.
Because the other one merged both of them,
right.
both points together.
Right. So having that, you are able, by the way, then to.
Can you?
What?
So you just move this way to the right? No, it doesn't.
You can't do anything with those. You have to double click. want to get in, you have to click on the actual field.
What? How do you get this? Yeah,
Okay.
just click on the white page.
On the box. Click on the box.
But how did you bring the box? Add
Oh, I added it from here. Field calculator.
And then you put it.
Mm-hmm.
And the description, this is the input, right?
Mm-hmm.
Principal interest rates at the back.
And if you click on that gear there, you can see the options. You can do a model input, a value, pre-calculated value, or an algorithm output. And we're just using these model inputs, and then everything else we're doing is an algorithm output, because it goes this to algorithm, it gets output. And it goes from that.
That's what it's saying.
Yeah. So it's all about having the expressions.
And this is already done.
Yeah, you can click on that and see. And we should change the name of that to Field Calculator Polygon. Let me put in Polygon. Okay. And they both use the same expression. Field Calculator lines. Because if you don't name them properly, you'll never know what to connect as it's not visual. You have to know. So that's lines, polygons. So then you have to be able to save feature as.
Did you save it?
No, so you have to go and look for save features as.
Do you want to save the model first and then you save it? How do you save it?
So save vector features to file is the next thing that you put in. And we do it for all three.
2 times.
Yeah, so one is, it shouldn't come from lines of interest, it should actually come from field calculator. And that needs to be an algorithm output.
Yeah, it's already picked it.
Okay. So that one there.
The other one.
Go ahead and do this one here.
Huh?
You can copy now and paste.
I want to do this.
Okay. Drag it over.
Lines? No, we did
Polygons.
the lines.
Do polygons.
This.
Yep.
That?
Yep. And then move that down. And then add one for.
I can copy this.
Yep. You'd have to use the copy or right click.
It doesn't. So do it on the and then and then that's what was the name of this?
Field calculator for longitude. Yeah, find it. Field calculator for longitude. Because the names are so important. Exactly. And then say okay. That's it. All right, now you have to create an output.
So this one is already this is embedded in it.
Yeah.
So
and look, there are other vector things. I tried extract selected features.
And then that's it here.
Now we need to put the output.
You save?
No, you can click on click on each of these and tell it where it's going to output. Say model output.
Input? No, sorry.
Model output. You could make other models with it, right?
No.
So you enter in a field name, which we can put in as Enas.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you're doing it. Otherwise, it's messed up because I've already got stuff in there. So this would be Enas points spreadsheet, for example, export, something like that.
For only the points.
Yeah.
So you copy it, keep changing, adjust points, lines, and stuff.
So say okay.
Copy?
No, first.
Copy.
Okay, say okay there.
Say okay.
But you can copy this whole thing and put it over there.
Right.
Or you can double click on it.
No?
You can only access to make it through clicking on the save vector.
What else are we going to bring?
No, you're not bringing anything. You're going to make a output for this and an output for that.
So I click on it? No.
Yeah. And then change the file to model output.
It's already...
Yeah, but you need to put the name in. So
the...
But it's not points anymore. This next one is polygons. And then do the same thing for that. And oops. And this one is lines. Let's try it without putting the geometry thing, because you asked what the value of the geometry thing was. This is the last amount of time you'll need. This is Enas model. Okay, and it should be, it's in the wrong folder. So there, Enas model export. Right, so you have a model. Let's see what happens if we run it. If we run it, it says to start with lines of interest as paths. That worked. Points of interest, we can do Enas points of interest, see what does with that. And then polygons of interest, and then the temporary file, it needs to be specified. I don't know why.
Can you explain what you're trying to do now?
Oh, I know why it's not working. Yeah, here we didn't give it a place. It needs to be saved in a file.
That's why, because you didn't save it.
Mm-hmm.
Save the whole thing.
So Enas point, oops, Enas point export. And it's not supposed to be saved as a geo package. It's supposed to be saved as a CSV. So now Enas point export as a CSV. All right. Now say OK. Now the other one has to be
Same.
not a geo package, but a CSV. Enas, what was this, polygon export? And then this one is a line. Yeah, it's complicated, and you have to remember a lot of stuff. Enas line export. Now your model should work if we go here and we say that's all the places it's going to go. That's already in. Points of interest would be Enas points of interest. Polygon is my campaign polygons of interest. Same that. Run it, and let's see what we get. We have Enas line export, and it gives the ones that we just created. Menara, Mall, it's all there. It worked. Oops, don't need that. Enas point export. It gave the Gem el Fana fruit stall that you put in, because that was from you. Remember, you put it in first. That's your coordinate there. Yay for that. And Enas polygon export. And it's got the Place de la Jeunesse. And it's got the HAF office.
Okay.
All right. So the model works. Clearly, one other thing you need to know is that you do have the ability to view output layers. So if you want to see if it's working, like these polygons, you go here and then you go back to the map, and it'll make a save vector features polygon feature, which you can turn on and off. In fact, I need to turn mine off. Let's turn everything else off. This is what you were running in your model. So it shows that the model is working, right?
Right.
The other thing, so you go back into here and you say, okay, where's my model? Is this the Enas model? Yeah, which needs to be saved, by the way. You can say, great, I want to see what it looks like for the lines. Did that work? So you go here to this dot and view output layers. And you go over here and you can see it made a save vector features. And there it is. It just needs to be, symbology needs to be made obvious. Okay, so that shows that that was working. And then you'd go finally into your model here and you'd say, what about the points of interest? You go to this dot here and say view output layers before you've saved anything, just to verify that the model is working. And then it has this one here, which show feature count. There's the fruit stall, and we can save. Oh, it doesn't even let us go in there. Oh, let's go in there. No, it's there, but it's not showing up. Or did it? Yeah, there it is. There's your point there. There's your point there. Okay, so that's how you go about creating models. And then anytime you want, you can open a model to use it.
Yeah.
You can always open a model and you can say, well, I want to use any of these models. And the nice thing about this, as opposed to what you were using in ARC you had to figure out then how the layers you dragged in correspond to a new model. But in this one, if you open up, in this one, look how when I open this model, I can have any map I want, because when I run it, I have to choose my lines, points, and polygons.
Right.
So it will work with any map
Okay.
that I want. Okay?
Who told you the other one doesn't?
I'm just not as familiar with that.
There is a way to choose different maps there too.
Okay. Well, I mean, ARC is the professional
I'm not defending, but it was, I know that we had in one exercise, but we always use the one because there was not a point to just. There is an option to choose different maps there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and know that.
I don't want you to say something that's not true because you don't know.
All I'm saying is that what they say for QGIS in its defense is that while it seems more difficult to set up a model, it is done so that you deliberately always pick the inputs that you want.
Yeah, well, you can pick that too. Should not see it.
And it seems that the geometry thing was unnecessary.
Something here? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
TH?
Right, I'll go look at that. Okay, so we're done for now.
Yeah, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I hope that we passed the audition. I hope that you learned something from this. Bye-bye.